November 10, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today, and this is how I drew it up. And this is where I took my two trades. The first one was a loss, and the second one was a win, but I'm ending the day a little red. So overall, the market looked like it was moving up in this big leg, which could be divided into maybe three separate legs with consolidation between each leg. Sideways consolidation, then a sell-off, looks like it might have been two legs, bounce, another sell-off, consolidation, then two legs up. So there was no economic data that came out to really move the market. And I would say most of the price action happened right up to about 10 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is about right here where my cursor is, actually a little bit closer to here. And then from here onwards, which is the next 3 hours, next half of the day, prices really slow down. So it kind of goes to show that I think for my own trading and my own strategy, I should just trade the first, I don't know, 3.5 hours. Otherwise, my mind for sure starts to drift and then I start inventing trades. But today, I got trapped on the first trade, and then the second trade was actually a little riskier than I think it should have been. We'll go into the trades right now. So, in the pre-market, sold off, moved up, sideways consolidation, another break upwards. So it looks like it's two legs up, sideways consolidation. And then the first setup that I saw was this trading range. It broke out. So it could have been a failed breakout here, but it came back down and it looked like it was going to be a breakout pullback. So it's a break of this green up channel. And this is where I started the line. I said one touch, two touch, three touch. So this is the third touch bounce off this yellow up channel support. But that isn't the only thing going for it. It's also bounce off the EMA. And it's a break of the screen up channel, so it wants to test the high. It's a first attempt long, pull back, second attempt long. But I kind of avoided it because this is the first 3 minutes of the day. It's a decent setup, but for me to jump on a trade that good, I need to have no doubts about where I think prices are going. And my doubt right now when I saw this is this potentially a failed breakout with prices moving back in? Keep in mind, the EMA is starting to show support, but this is an early show of support. So although it's a possible trade, I left it. Then prices continue going up, bounces off this yellow up channel some more, starts moving down this green down channel. So I first saw this is the first break of the green yellow up channel. I saw first attempt long, pullback, second attempt long. When I saw the second attempt long, this is where I jumped in on my trade. Now, again, in hindsight, everything's always in hindsight. This is one touch, two touch, three touch. There is 4, 5, maybe 6 additional touches, but it's losing strength because it's not going back to the high side. And even the high side's only been 2 touch confirmations. So the validity of this yellow up channel isn't super solid. But at the time, I thought it was solid enough. When I saw this, I thought, well, obviously prices are going to move back into this yellow up channel. It's one leg down, pull back, second leg. So I enter the trade, one tick above, hoping to scalp out 2 points. And it flushes down and stops me out right here. Now, if I kept my stop below this swing low, it wouldn't have mattered, and it would have stopped me out here. The prices continue moving down. So that definitely, when I look back on it in hindsight, I should have been a little more cautious because it did break below the EMA and close. But then it pushed back up. So I think it would have been safer to wait for a first entry long, second entry long, and then a higher low. Because keep in mind, this is already pressing the high of day. Now, if the high of day was much, much further out, and this is a setup that was a little bit lower with EMA coming up a little lower, then you have a little bit more room to push. But here, you can make the case that prices might be exhausted because it only has to come back up to here to test the highs. So I'm not too disappointed in this trade because it was a risk that I took, and I'm just going to walk away knowing that in this case there was a couple of things I could have just been more careful with. Then prices move down, break of the green down channel, test the low. Prices continue moving, creates this. So it's a new low. Say first entry long, pullback, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. This actually has moved longs here. This creates a lower high, but this lower high I call an almost trade because it does look like it's two legs up, but the overall bias still seems like it's bullish. And the EMA is throwing a wrench into this because it's a little confusing. EMA isn't being respected at all, so I can't use it as a key entry point. So even though it's cutting right through the center, it's a lower high. I had this drawn as a possible trading range, but I don't know how much to trust this low side yet because this could have been a failed breakout here, or it could have easily said that maybe the low of the range is here. So I wasn't too sure at the time, called an almost trade, moved on, but I also saw it as a new high. First entry long pullback, second entry long. Second entry long is a decent signal bar. EMA again isn't really helping, but I don't really have a clear bounce point because it could still come back down and bounce off this low of the range unless you drag the range up to here. But I didn't like that because it creates a fail breakout here and a fail breakout here. So I actually thought the low of the range was something closer to about here. So even though the stem's breaking out, you do have an open and close within the range. So that being the case, even though this might be a second entry long, I didn't like that it didn't come all the way down and touch this. In this case, it might have worked. First entry long, second entry long. It creates this higher low, and this is actually where I took my trade. Now, keep in mind, this trade is aggressive. So you're going to see right here. So saying new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. You could argue perhaps the second entry long has failed here, but I saw this as a higher low and I actually jumped in on this trade, which I now think is rather risky, at before it closed. So I was watching this carefully and I thought first entry long, second entry long, could there be a higher low here? Because I saw this line, trend line was here. Now I was thinking this failed breakout didn't create a failed breakout here. It might come back down and touch this, but I'm trusting the strength of this potential trend line. Now that's a very weak setup, but I took it anyways because at the time I thought it was good enough. And I will admit I might have been emotional from losing this trade right here. So I probably invented or came up and conjured up reasons why this is a decent setup because this is a terrible signal bar. It's just neutral. And then this, before it closed, as soon as it broke above this guy, it was a nice bold because it opened here. Nice, solidly powerful looking green bar. So I entered, then it came back down and closed here. So I thought, okay, I'm toast. It's probably a bad trade. I mean, not probably, it is a bad trade. I probably am going to lose. Pushes up and it actually presses up to the high. Now, going after this trade, I was only really going for 1 point. I wasn't going to go for two because I was concerned here and I was just trying to be conservative. So I got a 1 point scalp, moved my runner. I believe I kept it at this swing low up to here, one tick above my entry, and it got stopped out. And if it didn't get stopped out, one of these other candles definitely would have stopped me out. So prices kept moving up. So knowing this, because if you look at the timestamp, this happened about roughly 10 minutes after this one, I knew that I was getting sloppy and I was getting desperate, especially now that I took a red and I took a green, and my green didn't compensate for the red loss here. I was aware that I was very prone to try to do a little bit more just to break even for the day. And I had to work on, walking away red. And that's kind of what I did. I just said, you know what? This is a terrible trade. The second one, well, this first trade wasn't actually that terrible. I could justify it better. But the second trade that reduced the red for the day was a riskier trade. So I lost on the semi-decent good trade, and then I won on the uh, admittedly weaker setup. So that tells me, okay, I am just hunting too hard. So I decided to just kind of close up shop for the day. Don't take any additional trades. Then prices continue moving up. Creates the second entry long triple test right here. There's a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long, created the measured move. And this is where the bottom of the range came into play because I thought it was one touch, two touch. Now it's a breakout here and a third touch. So I thought this is a decent trade. I just didn't like it as an inside bar. In this case, it would have worked, but this inside bar would have kept me away. I mean, it did. Price then continue moving up. You have a new low. You have a first entry short, second entry short, but it looks like a visual first entry, second entry. So I'd be looking for a lower high. And you kind of get a lower high here because these two bars are inside of this, but this is a kind of a messy looking setup. Then prices start moving down. So I'm watching what's happening to the left. It looked like it was a push up and it's coming back down. And it looked like it was stalling out right around here. So I was thinking perhaps this is part of a larger trading range that has to take the whole day to play out. You don't get any clean second entries or safe second entries. Starts moving down. I draw this orange down channel, saw a new low, first entry short, pull back, technically have a second entry short. It's a decent signal bar. You could argue that it's being rejected off this orange down channel, but I just didn't like the signal bar here. And I ideally wanted at least a spike touch stem to the EMA, but first entry short, second entry short, if it had closed lower, then it also would give it more reason to take a trade here. Then it creates a lower high, and I thought this lower high was actually a possible trade because it looked like it was two legs up from the bottom of this orange down channel. Now at the time, I was also playing with the idea that maybe this orange down channel is tighter. This could have been a failed breakout. Failed breakout here, I was expecting a failed breakout on this side, which kind of happens here. But since it didn't progress further to touch the EMA and it reversed, I thought this is actually a possible decent trade for a lower high, but only for 1 point scalp. So if I was going for 2 points, I'd have to trim my profit target down to 1 point, just like I did for this one. The price will continue moving down. It's somewhat respecting the high side of this orange down channel pretty well. So even though it broke out, I'm still considering this resistance part in play. And then I thought maybe perhaps there was no breakout here because it didn't react strongly here. Continues pushing down. I'm going to adjust this slightly to clean it up. Then it's a fail breakout here and test the low. Then it comes back. It's a first entry short. Creates a second entry short here. Now, the second entry short, I did have a trend line drawn from here to here because I had a bunch. I usually have several trend lines drawn just to see if they'll develop into channels. And this was one of them that I later turned into a channel because this is a third touch confirmation. First entry short, second entry short, two legs up from the low. Now, it was a little early for me to say that this is actually the bounce point because, as I said, I initially had it here. Then I dragged it down to here. Then to drag it down to here, I wasn't quite ready yet because it only doesn't really have any confirmation touches other than that one. So I actually had it slightly higher here. So I thought, okay, at least there's two confirmations here, small breakout here, potential fail second entry short, but I don't trust one touch, two touch, three touch yet. When the two touches came so early, if it was the first touch here and the second one was maybe over here, then I would trust this a little bit more because on the larger time scale, these two start collapsing into being 1 point. So it'd actually only be like one big touch here and one touch here. So that gave me a little pause. Pushes down. There might be a lower high here, but it kind of comes back up, creates a double top. So I can't really say it's a lower high. Then this actually might be the lower high. And I actually thought this is a possible trade because this lower high also gets rejected off this gray down channel resistance. Decent signal bar. Again, like this setup and like this setup, I'd only be comfortable taking a 1 point scalp because although the EMA was acting bearish, it's starting to potentially act as support, especially in this zone. So I would have only went for a 1 point scalp. In this case, even a 2 point scalp would have worked. So when I see this touch confirmation again, I'm trusting, that's when I actually developed and trusted this as an actual channel. And I treated this as no breakout here because it didn't really react very strongly. This resistance is holding well. It's at 1 touch, 2 touch, 3, 4, 5 touch. Unfortunately, right here, there was no setup for me. Price then continued going down. Creates a second entry short. Same thing with what was happened here. There's a touch confirmation, but it's the selling pressure is starting to dissipate because it's starting to move down. Plus, I thought I might have been in a trading range. It's a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Second entry short, when you see this in real time, there's not that much room potentially to this potential support area because as you can see, all the subsequent bars kind of stalled out right here in this zone. So I call the second entry short almost trade. I mean, if you took it, depending on how many points you're going after, one of these bars would have stopped you out. The prices continue moving down. The potential fail breakout of this trading range. I also thought this gray down channel was broken and tested the low. It's a little jarbled. It's a first entry short, second entry short, but I saw it as a visual first entry, pullback, second entry, looking for a lower high, but lower high doesn't really show up. And it continues moving in this trading range and it starts pushing up and out. Moves up this purple up channel and that starts coming down. So I'm thinking this gray down channel has played out. This purple up channel still needs to test the high. I'm watching carefully for the EMA bounce. You do have a bounce here. It's a first entry long pullback, then it flushes down. You have a potential second entry long here. Also, this big purple push up has corrected is one attempt down, pull back, second attempt. This green down channel has tested the low. This gray down channel has tested the low. I'm thinking all the down pressure might have played out, and there might be another leg that's going to come up to push this purple leg up because it looks like first entry long, second entry long. Second entry long is below the EMA, so I don't like that. I'm looking for a higher low wishes. And then finally, you get what I think is a higher low. I actually like this setup. I didn't take it though because I was kind of, as I said, kind of closed up shop for the day. The first entry long, pull back, second entry long, and then you get a break below, push, strong close up. There's enough here for 2-point scalp before you run into any concern of this localized high. So I thought this was a possible trade. Looks like if you took it, you could probably trail the runner because if I took it, I would have gotten my 1 or 2-point scalp here. My runner would be behind here. Now I'd be behind this guy. So as it pushes down, I'm watching, then I drag it behind this guy. Keep tracing it up, and I likely would have been behind here watching this guy, so my runner would have been up here. As it reverses, I probably would have moved my runner behind this guy, trailed it up, likely be behind this guy, then behind this guy. And as it gets this high, I would likely just stay one candle behind the developing candle at this point, because this is already a pretty nice runner. Likely this candle would have stopped me out. The prices continue moving. So this is kind of a woulda, shoulda, coulda, and it definitely had FOMO when I saw this, but I had to kind of drive myself down to following the rules because in real time, it's hard to, when I had just taken these two trades, well, not just taken, but I've taken these two trades previously, seeing this, I didn't really trust my intuition at the point and my read because this is a higher low, but it's not the cleanest higher low. It's decent. So I couldn't justify taking a trade. I definitely didn't want to take a loss because that would have probably affected me quite badly in a negative way mentally because I already knew what the rules were and I already knew I could tell that I was starting to drift in my discipline and in my way I read the charts. So, anyways, prices continue moving. It starts moving sideways. First entry long pullback, second entry long, second entry long. Here's your signal bar. It's not the best, and this is the first touch of the EMA. It just didn't feel very safe. Then when I see this first entry pullback, second entry looking for a higher low, you kind of get a higher low here, but it's too close to the high of day now. Plus, if you look at the timestamps, these candles are really taking a while to close. So I kind of was watching this off and on, and I was thinking if I was trying to trade this, I would probably have to be extra disciplined and extra careful. The first entry long pullback, you have a second entry long here. This yellow up channel doesn't exist, not even the trend line, so I can't really say there's a trade here. I did see it's a visual first entry pullback, technical first entry, second entry. It looked more like a visual first entry, second entry, and a higher low here, but I didn't have a key entry point here, so I don't know if I would have tried to take a trade here. Prices then continue moving up. Also, have another high here, first entry long, pullback, second entry long, but again, it just looks very tight trading. Prices, candles are taking quite a while to close. Prices then continue moving up. At this point, I do look and find what I think is this yellow up channel. It's something closer to this. So the failed breakout here, but then it keeps moving. So then I drew this green up channel, thinking maybe there's a superimposed channel here, secondary, first entry long, pullback. You have a second entry long here, but it's below the EMA. It's a little confusing, a little ambiguous. I also ended up drawing the yellow up channel closer to this because it better encapsulate the price action. I'm looking for a touchdown here. It does touch. You have a visual first entry long pullback, second entry long. Looking for a higher low. This could be the higher low, but it's also really late in the day. So if I hadn't taken a trade and I was looking for one, I'd be hesitant to take this one. The prices continue moving up. I'm kind of speed through this now because this is the last 10 minutes here, and I don't want to trade the last 10 minutes. Kind of pushes into the close. So overall, it was more volatile, more opportunities in the first half, and then less opportunities in the second half. Prices definitely slowed down. I would say the first trade I can be okay taking, but then the second one definitely was riskier, and it was affected by the first trade, I'm sure. So hopefully that was helpful.